Now, News 2 at 4.
Welcome back, everybody. As schools across the country struggle amid this pandemic, some Tennessee lawmakers want to cut funding from certain schools. Welcome back to News 2 at 4. I'm Erica Francis.
I'm Eric Egan. Turning to our state capitol newsroom tonight now. If passed, this bill could take away state funding from school districts that are still closed for in-person learning. News 2's Stalcy Olmos has been following the special session. She's live from Tennessee's Capitol Hill now with a closer look at what others are saying about this bill.
Well, in Tennessee, there are only two school districts still entirely online. That's Shelby County and right here in Davidson County. Now, leadership in both of those districts say that the COVID-19 infection rate is just still too high to reopen schools. But if they don't, this proposal could mean that they would lose money and funding for their districts if they don't offer in-person learning at least 70 days this year.
They need an in-person option. That doesn't mean every child has to be in every school. That means the option has to be there.
House Bill 7021, brought forth by Rep. William Lamberth and 27 other Republican representatives, requires school districts to provide in-person learning for K through 8th for a minimum of 70 days this year and 180 next year in order to get basic education program funding.
Our goal is that no school district would lose money. In fact, we're putting millions of additional dollars into K through 12 education. We are just asking that our local school systems statewide have an in-person option for our children.
You just said you're asking, but it kind of sounds like you're forcing with the money.
No, it's entirely their call. I mean, if they choose not to do so, then they don't need as much money for their school system if it's all virtual. I mean, it literally costs less money to do a virtual school system instead of an in-person school system. And so we're merely allocating our resources to those schools that are stepping up and meeting state policy.
In reality, as of right now, the bill would only withhold funding from two districts, Shelby County and Metro Nashville.
The problem the schools are having is enrollment's down currently. That doesn't affect this budget year, it affects their next budget year. So if we do absolutely nothing, they're going to lose funding anyway.
While Nashville's enrollment is down by 3,200 students from this time last year, according to district records, the Tennessee Education Association says these are cities with high infection rates and teachers are scared.
Educators in those districts, families in those districts have largely expressed support for staying in a virtual learning mode, virtual teaching mode, because of the high COVID infection rates in that area. Threatening to take away critical education funding is not the right decision.
The director of Metro Public Schools here responded to News 2 in a statement today. She said that the layoffs of teachers could be threatened for next year, as well as the bill does not address the challenges to learning, the gaps for students, or school safety. And as for right now, the legislator is focusing on literacy, learning loss, and staffing issues. They then hope to move on to discussing this bill next week. Reporting live from the Tennessee State Capitol, Stalcy Olmos, News 2.
Anytime you're talking about school funding, of course, it's a big issue. Stalcy, thank you. That brings us to our News 2 poll question of the day. Do you think schools should lose state money if they continue remote learning during the pandemic? It's a talker. Head to WKRN.com and share your opinion.